Uh, is this episode 2? I don't know. I don't think we should count episodes, but
No.
guess what I've got, boys? Guess where it came from?
Oh yeah, we got
Steamworks
a nice little Steamworks Pilsner here.
Pilsner.
Cheers.
So cheers,
Cheers, boys.
because we're live now, this is the new thing for us. I made a little bit of a background for the garage here, right? And you've got your
Tech
jersey up,
setup.
and I
got my trusty Alfonso Davies jersey.
Cheers. Now, a couple things to just a little housekeeping before we get into our quick hit here is I am the money mechanic, and I've been part of the FI Garage for a couple of years now with my awesome co-hosts, the Economist.
Hey.
And
I am the accountant. I think, right?
And for new viewers, these are not random names. I am a professional mechanic, and you are a professional accountant, and you're a professional economist. So
I am.
now you know what we look like, and you just have to guess our real names.
Yeah, there you go.
Should we do the blurb here?
Yeah, you got a
Ooh.
you got a blurb on this beer? Blurb it up.
I got it from the internet.
Oh, perfect.
Pilsner, the most popular beers in the world, call themselves Pilsners, but they barely resemble the original from the city of Pilsen in the Czech Republic that gave its name to the style in 1842. Steamworks' version comes close, which explains why it has won Best Beer in BC for 2 years running. It is a rich malty lager. Uh-oh.
I knew he'd have reading problems eventually.
With a spicy floral hop character, crisp,
I get that.
complex, and delicious. And
Yeah.
I should have worn my glasses for that one. The font is not exactly large.
This is a good Pilsner. I will give it that.
It's a tasty beer.
I'm not usually a Pilsner person, but this is a good one. It's got some of those original flavors to it from our journeys in the Czech Republic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very tasty. And if any of our podcast listeners are watching after this is released, but before the episode is released, it's very exciting as Steamworks is one of our first official beer sponsors for the podcast.
Very official.
So shout out to Steamworks. We'll obviously talk about that more on the actual full-length podcast episode we do with them. But yeah, exciting.
Thanks, Steamworks.
Yep. Cheers and thank you. So this
Cheers.
is one of our first YouTubes. And so if you have just found us, we do a full length podcast that you can find on all the usual channels through Spotify, iTunes, etc. We have a website. It's figarage.ca. So we do our in-depth full length shows there, which apparently are going to be live on here too, if you've got nothing better to do than watch us for 45 or 50 minutes. But, okay. These are quick hits. So let's get into the hits, boys. What is the hit today?
Right. So the question of the day that I was asked is, why would someone not want to sell a covered call?
Oh, you're asking like, what's that? Isn't that a double negative question? Why didn't they ask, why do I want to sell covered calls? Why do I not want to sell covered calls?
They
was only
were
one
essentially
negative.
saying, why wouldn't you sell covered calls?
Yeah.
As in not selling covered calls is stupid.
Because
And I understand the
because
utility.
options trading is dumb.
Thank
Well,
you.
The first thing might be because you don't understand selling covered calls.
I
That
understand.
might be a
well, okay.
But that
Tell
might
us what-
be a fair reason for our viewers not to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
What's a covered call?
Well, a call is an option for somebody to purchase the stock. So if you own 100 shares of TELUS and you sell one contract of a call, it gives the person you sell it to the right to buy those shares for you at a predetermined price. So TELUS is at 25 and change today. You sell a covered call at 26 2 weeks out. 2 weeks from now, it's trading at 27. The person who bought the covered call could buy it from you at 26. Consequently, it goes down to 24. The person still only has the right to buy it at 26. They're not going to bother buying the stock from you. They could buy it on the open market. What a fail, man.
I know.
Beer penalty. Beer
That's
penalty.
it.
That's definitely a beer penalty.
I love it.
A drink.
Oh,
So- So what makes it covered is you own the stock in your portfolio.
You own the stock and you're selling the call, meaning you could lose those shares that you own. And I think a lot of people assume, hey,
silent mode.
Just happened.
there you go. I think a lot of people assume that I'm selling the covered call, so I'm taking on no risk because the worst case is that I'll lose my stock will get called away and I'll sell it at a higher price and I get a premium, which I can collect, essentially creating another dividend stream for selling that call. But the issue is if your stock's trading at 25 today and you sell a call at 26 in a month and the stock goes to 50, you're still only getting $26 for it. So you're capping your upside.
Yes, you are.
Big time.
So is that the answer to the question why you would not do it then? Because you're capping your upside?
That would be my answer to the question, is I wouldn't want to always have my upside capped. So I wouldn't always be, I mean, there's scenarios in which I do sell covered calls, but I'm not going to always sell covered calls. I mean, if you cap your upside on your entire portfolio, I can't see you having very good returns.
I think this is really pertinent to people who are investing long term, right? You want to hold stocks long term.
Okay, but I'm going to jump in here because there's a couple factors that I think make a difference on this, the question of whether to or not, right? Every options contract has a time frame. Right. So you choose how far out that option is. So if my TELUS share that we chose to use as an example was trading at, what did you say, 26 or 27 or something like that?
I think they're 25 something today.
Well, whatever number we want to go.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant, yeah. So if I choose a 3-week expiry, then maybe I do a covered call at 29. If it hits 29 in 3 weeks, that's fine. I'm happy to take the 29, but I'm not going to do a $29 covered call that expires, 12 months from now, because I'm capping my upside at that point, right?
Right. And then the argument to that is that if you're selling a 29 covered call of TELUS that expires in 3 weeks, the amount of premium you're getting for that is going to be so small,
tiny.
Most of your commissions are going to eat that away anyway. And then there's probably exercise fees tacked on with it. Like, it's really probably not worthwhile.
No. Well, that's the thing. And this is one of the problems that, to go into the bigger discussion of options is like when you and I were first going down the road, and it's like, I was looking at the brokerage because I was originally using TD at the time going, oh, so there's how much commission to initiate the trade to start with, right? Yep. And then if you get exercise, there's that much too. And so you look at what your profit margin is at the end of the day, and it just doesn't make sense to do it, especially for one contract. And I think with covered calls, we're talking 100 shares of a blue chip stock here. So I don't know how many of us out there have multiple hundreds of shares of $25 or $30 or $40 stocks. That's a large holding. And especially if you do have that, you probably want to keep it long term.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So what about, this is maybe a little off base to the original question here, but what about selling a put on a contract where you end up owning a stock you're okay with owning and then turning around and putting a covered call on it? Is that a strategy?
Well, that's just a whole nother options trading strategy, which is probably a whole nother segment.
Hey, good. There's another segment coming up.
We specifically were just talking about this because I was literally asked this question today.
I know, but I guess I'm used to doing the full length podcast where we just like keep going down the rabbit hole. Find the path and follow the path.
Yeah. Go down the rabbit hole. I don't think this is that. Yeah, okay, I think that's one thing a lot of people forget is it can be a good stream of generating some extra income by selling covered calls, but it does limit your upside, and you have to make it worthwhile when factoring in commissions. And a lot of times there's an exercise fee. Yeah. So if you get called, if you made $40 for selling the option, but there's a $45 exercise fee if it gets exercised, well, you didn't make any money.
Well, and this is to take into account too is, for me, for example, I was started off with TD theirs. I've got $10 into the original purchase of the trade as well. And after all the options fees and exercise commissions come out of that, say I want to get back into that stock, I've got another $10 on that end. So I've got $20 to factor in there as well as the rest of the fees, right? So,
yeah.
It doesn't really sound like a set it and forget it strategy.
It's definitely not a set it and it's definitely not a basic FI strategy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people they hear that you can get greater returns, and people who are trying to rush their way to having more passive income will go down that road, not realizing that it does have downsides.
Yeah, that's fair. Cover calls, not always awesome.
But sometimes.
FI Garage rating, 3.
I think that's fair.
I'm gonna give this beer a 5 though. This is
This is
actually quite delicious.
Yeah,
what's
it is, isn't it?
what's the scale if you're giving it a 5 already?
You can have
It's a
multiple
sliding
5s.
scale. It depends. Some days it's a 5 out of 7. Sometimes it's a 5 out of 5. I mean, it depends how many beers deep you are, doesn't it?
And how
this is probably a good example of what your accountant's thinking when you take your tax return. Oh, it's a sliding scale.
I don't do tax returns anymore. It's fine.
The spreadsheet tells the truth. I don't have to.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Okay, never mind. All right, well, here you go. I guess that was our quick hit. We'll
Cheers,
get better.
guys.
We'll get better at these. And it's too short to drink a beer.
I know.
Yeah,
You know,
I guess.
To be honest, Mechanic, I wasn't sure if you were rating the episode of 3 or the strategy of 3.
Well, they're pretty comparable at this point.
They are.
The
right?
episode's probably a 3. We're gonna try and get it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, boys, you remember how long it took us to get to good in podcasting? At
Isn't
least
it-
20 episodes.
It's 20 episodes. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
these are
So give
short.
us-
So divide by 3 for the length of time. We're looking like 60 quick hits before we're anywhere.
It'll be
near.
years before these are decent.
YouTube
58
is full
more
of
episodes.
YouTube is full of amazing content. We're just throwing ours into the ring here.
There we go.
All right, boys. We'll catch you
All
next
right.
time.
Till
Cheers.
next time.